Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Barakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Raiah with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. And to you Akim out there who knows what's what, this video is mainly going to be for new listeners who are coming across this for the first time and need a breakdown on what the MARKOFTHEBEAST is in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 18. Because with each passing day, we're getting closer and closer to the mandatory implementation of this MARK, which for the rest of the video, I'll be referring to as the Charagma. And he causeth all, in that he is referring to the elite rulers of the planet right now, who are of the nation of Esau, Edom, or these so-called white people, such as the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Massimos, Gettys, DuPonts, Merovingians, you name it, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a charagma in their right hand or in their foreheads. And the charagma is the RFID/NFC MICROCHIPIMPLANT. And as it says in verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell or get a job, travel abroad, or do anything in society, save he that had the charagma, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. And when the charagma is mandatorily implemented, you won't be able to do anything in society without it. You'll be seen as a social pariah, and it's going to get so serious out here during that mandatory implementation that people will be faced with being put to death for not taking it, as it says up in verse 15. And he, that he again being the elites, had power to give life unto the image of the beast. And the image of the beast is the financial, political, and military aspects of this beast system that we're currently living in, which is the last leg of the fourth beast in Daniel chapter 2, those iron toes mixed with miry clay, the reincarnated Roman Empire, the NATO-EU alliance that the U.S. is a part of, and the charagma is a major aspect of that image of the beast. That the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast or receive that charagma should be killed, point blank period. And the charagma is something physical. It's not something spiritual or anything else that these other wayward groups want to say it is, such as an embargo on Christianity, white women being the charagma, or anything mad like that. Because when we go into the word charagma in the Strongs, it's G5480, haragma, a stamp, an imprinted mark, something physical, of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the badge of the followers of the anti-Hamashiach. A mark branded upon horses. And what are horse? Cattle. Hey, marking up your cattle to show that it's your property, which is exactly what this charagma is going to be for these elites to the masses of people out here. A thing carved, such as carving into your skin with that syringe to put this in. Sculpture, graven work of idolatrous images. And when we go to the Strong's definition, it says haragma, from the same as G5482, a scratch or etching, i.e. a stamp, as of a badge of servitude. And when we go to the root, Strong's G482, it's
Strong's G5482,
Harax, a pail or stake. And what do you do with a pail or stake? You implant it into the ground to mark your claim to your territory, which again, when the elites have this haragma staked into people's fleshes, that's exactly what they're doing. They're marking you as their property. In the Strong's definition, harax from haraso, to sharpen to a point, akin to G1125, through the idea of scratching, a stake, i.e. by implication, a palisade or rampart. But again, as it says, akin to the idea of scratching, a stake, cutting into your skin, something physical. So again, the haragma is something physical. It's not some spiritual mark or any other wayward, crazy idea that these other false camps try to convince you people that it is to lead you astray. And like I've been saying, to those that receive the haragma, you're going to be nothing more than cattle, property to the elites. Verse 18, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, 666. And the nation of people that man who is in control of this beast system is a part of are again the biblical Edomites, who are known as the so-called white people today. These Americans, Europeans, British, Russians, South Afrikaners, Australians, etc., etc. Now, when we go to that word 666 in the Strong's, it's G5516.
Strong's G5516. Chi, Psi, stigma.
High, psi, stigma. 666, the meaning of which is the basis of much vain speculation. But when you have an understanding of these scriptures, you don't know the 666, the charagma, isn't the basis of much vain speculation. We know exactly what it is, that RFID/NFC, MICROCHIPIMPLANT. And when we go to the Strong's definition, high size stigma, the 22nd, 14th, and an obsolete letter, G4742, as a cross. And when we go to G4742, it's stigma. And what does it say in the root word? From a primary, stizo, to stick, i.e., prick, something physical, sticking and pricking that haragma into your skin through that syringe. In the outline of biblical usage, MARK, pricked in or branded upon the body. To ancient Oriental usage, slaves and soldiers bore the name or the stamp of their master or commander, branded or pricked, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belonged to, and there were even some devotees who stamped themselves in this way with the token of their gods. And like I've been saying, to those that receive this haragma, they're going to be nothing more than slaves, cattle, property to the elites and their system, pledging allegiance to it, this antichrist or anti-Hamashiach system. Because the Antichrist isn't just one singular person, it's an idea, it's a philosophy, it's a way of life that goes completely against the scriptures and the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, which is what this Edomite is all about. In the Strong's definition, again, stigma, from a primary stizo, to stick, i.e. prick, a MARK, incised or punched for recognition of ownership, i.e. figuratively a scar of service, a MARK. And I opened up the video with these verses to preface a few articles and videos to show just how close we are to the mandatory implementation of the charagma. And the first bit of information I'll be going to is on Ice Age Farmer's YouTube channel titled Iran, Digital Food Rationing Rolls Out Using Biometric IDs Amid food riots, and these talks of digital IDs and biometric IDs is all just stepping stones towards the charagma. And what you've been seeing over these past 2 years with the Cragamuffin 1.9 is the same, because what's it led to? Social spacing, as we'll call it, and a push for contactless payments at these stores with these cashierless registers through apps like Apple Pay, Venmo, or Cash App. And at a lot of these restaurants now, you don't even have physical menus. You have a QR code somewhere on the table that you scan to get the menu on your phone. And the reasoning behind that was stated to be that they didn't want the Cragamuffin 1.9 to travel through physical contact with menus at these restaurants. And also, at the beginning of this whole situation, there were talks that the Cragamuffin 1.9 could travel on physical currencies such as coins and paper money, which they said would need to lead to taking physical currencies out of circulation and push for more contactless payments through digital means. And that, along with a lot of other talking points of these global banks, has led to what? A push for CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. And the middleman between the people and these banks with those CBDCs is going to be that charagma. Bitcoin, Dogecoin, or any of these other cryptocurrencies were never made to be an alternative to the global banking system. They were put in place by the powers that be to wean people off of using physical currencies and move towards the digital realm, psychologically and subconsciously preparing you for these CBDCs and eventually to take the charagma so you could be fully linked into the system. But now let's play this clip. And this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage used in this video, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
My friends, welcome. The mark is here. Iran is set to
one stepping stone towards it.
Be the first country to roll out a biometric digital ID needed in order to buy food. Needed in order to eat.
That they may neither buy nor sell, save he that had the charagma.
Right? Needed in order to survive. You must go get your digital ID from the government. The same digital ID that central banks are telling us is needed in order to roll out the central bank digital currencies. The same digital ID that the World Economic Forum establishes is at the very crux of this fourth industrial revolution. Yeah, all of that now.
The fourth industrial revolution, the GREATRESET, which are just nicer terms for this NW0 that the elites want to implement. And let's see what this is. Why CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, will likely be ID-based, identification-based. Central banks are realizing CBDCs will have to be intimately linked to identity to deal with illicit finance and bank disintermediation risk. Hey, that's the cover story. To help further justify rolling out this charagma, but I want to focus on to where it says it will be ID-based. And what are your biometrics, your personal information? That charagma is going to have everything about you on it so you can be more easily tracked and identified. And if you try to buck up with the system, they can individually target you and cut off certain benefits you receive for having the charagma, like being able to travel abroad, hey, buy food, get a job, anything like that. Back in Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, go back to that word charagma. I'm going to go to the root again, and then I'm going to go to the root of harax, G 1125.
Strong's G 1125. Grapho.
Grapho. And when we go to the outline of biblical usage, to write with reference to the form of the letters, to delineate or form letters on a tablet, parchment, paper, or other material, to write with reference to the contents of the writing, to express in written characters, here's the point, to commit in writing, things not to be forgotten, write down, record, things not to be forgotten, recording all your biometric data, your health information, your banking information, what you do for work, what you look like, what you buy, etc., etc., all your grafo, your biometric data on your haragma. And a couple of months ago, you had that Swedish-based company talking about how their haragmas could be used to store people's Cragamuffin 19 jump shot information on it.
You need to go get your ID in order to eat. Now, there's some interesting details about the way Iran is implementing this that I want to walk through today, because I think this is a bellwether for how it's going to be rolled out around the rest of the world. And make no mistake, this is food rationing based on your digital ID. So read down here. You're able to buy as much bread as you want, but if you want to get the subsidized prices, then you're going to need the ID. Then you'll have access to, quote, a limited amount of bread at subsidized prices.
Hey, if you get this digital ID, you'll get benefits, more benefits than those that don't have it. And that's how it's going to play out with the haragma. Before the mandatory implementation, it's going to be rolled out on a voluntary basis, but they're going to make it very, very profitable to get it. Look, if you get the haragma, you get this much more benefits on it than those people that don't want to get the haragma. Look, we'll even put some stimulus money on it, some stimulus digital money on it to further help you out. And look at how things played out when the jump shot first came about. First, it was voluntary. Then you started having a lot of entities, businesses, and government organizations say, look, if you don't want to get it because we're making it mandatory, you can leave the job or you can't have access to certain privileges in society.
And you can keep buying the rest at market rates if you want, right? You can buy as much bread for $1 million a loaf as you want. But for the 50% of Iran that lives below the poverty line, that's not an option, right? Their only option is to go get in line and accept this mark, this digital biometric ID, to which all resources are being tied. Not just bread, but according here, the scheme will later include all goods such as chicken, cheese, vegetable oil, and so on and so forth. So this is a pretty big deal. Let's talk about it. I'm Christian, and this is the Ice Age Farmer Broadcast. And there's a lot to this story, from the fact that they cut off the internet for regular users, to the fact that there have been already fatal food riots and protests. So let's break it down. Here from Reuters, soaring bread prices spark protests and shop fires in Iran. May 13th, soaring bread prices have triggered protests in which some shops were set on fire, encouraging 22 arrests. The protests were triggered by a cut in subsidies for wheat that caused price hikes as high as 300% for flour-based staples. The inflation rate in Iran is already 40 to 50%, depending on who's counting, and half of 82 million people there are already living below the poverty line. So digging in further, the cut on bread subsidies is something that the Iranian government says we have to do it. We can't just keep subsidizing all bread forever. So what we're going to do now is just subsidize a little bit of bread for everyone that has this ID. Quote, the government will offer citizens digital coupons. That's the way they dress it up. Digital-friendly coupons with a smiley face on it that will allow them to access a...
So inflation and cut to subsidies led to food riots in Iran, which led to the rollout of these digital IDs. And what have we been hearing about in the news? The coming inflation, which we're already in a state of inflation, which will go to hyperinflation, and then food shortages, which will lead to food riots. And if these situations led to a rollout of a digital ID in Iran, what do you think they're going to lead to on a massive scale all across the planet? Hey, a rollout of a digital ID, which will ultimately be that haragma, and we know that civil unrest, which is already taking place in some countries, is going to take place in the Western world, the US, UK, and Europe, due to inflation slash hyperinflation, fuel uptick in fuel prices and food prices, and food prices, as well as fuel shortages and food shortages. I did a video the other day showing that global banks all across the planet are preparing for civil unrest in the Western world.
Limited amount of bread at subsidized prices. The rest will be available at market rates, right? You can buy as much as you want, as long as you pay exorbitant prices for it. As long as you're a millionaire, you can do whatever you want. This scheme will be enforced within 2 months. The scheme will later be expanded to include other goods like chicken, cheese, and vegetable oil, according to officials. Raisi extolled the benefits of reforming these subsidy scheme, finally covering everything from oil to bread. It's many cash-strapped Iranians already rely on this. So what better vector to force you to get your digital ID than with food? The price of wheat on the global market has jumped since the start of the Russian conflict with Ukraine, adding to the cost of subsidies. Of course, that's getting even worse this week as India announces they're going to completely ban all exports of wheat. Putting that aside, this has sent wheat up back again to a fresh high, a multi-decadal record price. And so that's not going to help Iran. It's just going to further more of these kinds of conversations and digital rationing of food. So here, Iran has enforced internet shutdowns across the country as citizens are protesting. It's a tiered disconnection, meaning we're going to take down individuals, but if you're a business or a bank or a government, then your internet will continue to work just fine. Don't worry about a thing. In 2 months, citizens will be given digital coupons that will give access to a small number of subsidized bread purchases. Now, you can call it digital coupons on
Slakia ad.
What this describes is limiting people to a small number of bread purchases at affordable prices. Right? It's very clear. They can language it however they want in their corporate government stakeholder nonsense speak. The bottom line is people aren't going to eat unless they go to the government and get these digital biometric cards. It's planning to expand to cover other foods too. Many of Iran's poor can no longer even afford meat or other foods and have all turned to this subsidized bread just to be able to feed themselves and their families. So this is not an opt-in system, right? It might be dressed up that way, it might be presented that way, but this is telling the people of that country who depend on these bread subsidies that now they need to go sign up for the mark. Let's talk more about this. This is the biometric digital ID that Iran rolled out just last year, actually. It uses a combination of the police database of the national IDs that they already have with a new app that you do like a 10, 15-second multi-dimensional selfie to get your biometric data inputted, and then they go and match it up with your ID, and then you're good to go. Then you're good to go use your mark to go buy bread from the state. Users' digital ID is stored on your Android or iOS device. Yeah, Google and Apple, right there, custodians of the mark. Now, let's step back and bear in mind that this is exactly what the Rockefeller Foundation described in their Resetting the Table report, how we're going to transform the food systems as
point blank period, resetting the table, the GREATRESET, that fourth industrial revolution. But that's it with my first bit of information. Oh, lest we forget, the Rockefellers, one of those he that causeth all. But now I'm going to go to my next bit of information on mylondon.news, and it's titled, Tesco, ASDA, Aldi, Lidl, Sainsbury, and Morrison's shoppers soon won't be able to pay with cards or cash. It's just not happening in places in the East like Iran. This is a global initiative, a global agenda. Customers may be asked to use a new high-tech solution instead. Supermarket giants across the UK could soon ask shoppers to ditch cash and card payments and instead use their face or fingerprints at the checkout, their biometric data, their grafo, in the right hand or in the forehead. A trial is in place to increase shopper security at the tills, though some may see it as a step closer to a cashless society, which is exactly what it is, and a further stepping stone towards the eventual mandatory implementation of the Haragma, getting you people subconsciously and psychologically prepared to have your faces scanned or your fingers scanned so it can pick up the data on your Haragma. And this sounds similar to Amazon Pay, which you should look up, which has already been put into some Whole Food stores. MasterCard is trailing a biometric payment system that could see customers just use their face rather than contactless cards, smartphones, or pins. Shoppers would be able to smile or wave a hand at a scanner to pay for their shopping that they may buy and sell. It is understood that a customer would be able to scan their face or fingerprint using supermarket's smartphone app and link their likeness to a bank card. Payment card and mobile website says it would work in a similar way to Apple's Facial ID. The Telegraph reports how MasterCard, the payment company, wants to roll the program out worldwide for small and large retailers. Ajay Bala, the president of cyber and intelligence at MasterCard, was quoted in the Telegraph as saying, "The way we pay needs to keep pace with the way we live, work, and do business, offering choice to consumers with the highest levels of security. Our goal with this new program is to make shopping a great experience for consumers and merchants alike, providing the best of both security and convenience." A pilot program is currently underway in Brazil at 5 St. Marche supermarkets in Sao Paulo. More trials are also planned for Asia and the Middle East. The biometric facial recognition software would lead to shorter queues, be more hygienic than tapping in a pin, and less vulnerable to fraud linked to credit and debit cards, MasterCard said. It said no more fumbling for your phone or hunting for your wallet when you have your hands full. The next generation of in-person payments will only need a quick smile or wave of your hand. The trusted technology that uses your face or fingerprints to unlock your phone can now be used to help consumers speed through the checkout. With MasterCard's new biometric checkout program, all you need is yourself. Said with this article, but again, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a haragma in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that they may neither buy nor sell, save he that had the haragma. And with that video and article I just read from, we're seeing the stepping stones leading towards their ultimate goal, that haragma, which is on full display in this last bit of information on the YouTube channel Jason A, titled, "What is Going On in 2022? And Apostle Tahar has deemed 2022 to be the year of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai turning things up. And as we can clearly see, things are turning up exponentially. And again, this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this video, nor any of the footage that Jason A uses in this video, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
Well, many have started paying for things with their phones, even watches.
One company, though, wants to take that technology to another level by implanting a chip in your hand.
Listen to this. Instead of carrying your wallet in your back pocket or your purse, a tech company wants you to keep it under your skin.
All right, so let's explain here. Walletmore is selling microchips implanted in your hand as an alternate payment. Could this be the future? Maybe. The overseas company Walletmore is selling the microchip in parts of Europe. It's about the size of a grain of rice, goes under the skin. It's then activated using a digital wallet app.
And it'll be implanted, Julia, into your hand.
I don't know. I feel kind of creepy about this. I mean, they can track everything we do anyway,
Yeah,
right?
sure, yeah. I don't know. I ain't interested in it. Keep it away from me.
I would just want to know how it affects your body.
Yeah, it can't be good. It can't be good to put some electronic device in your body and keep it there. Ooh, good luck with that.
Once the implant goes in, there are no refunds. Right now, chips are not sold in the U.S. Crazy.
How convenient would be to pay at the cash register by simply showing your face or scanning a fingerprint? Well, this is now a reality in Sao Paulo, Brazil. MasterCard has launched a pilot program at 5 grocery stores in the South American city where customers can authenticate their identity using their biometric information. To pay at the checkout, customers simply look at the terminal, which scans their face using facial recognition software, or place their finger on the fingerprint scanner. No PIN, no tap and go, just a smile or a wave of the hand. Customers will need to upload a photograph of their face or a scan of their fingerprint and link that to their MasterCard account. The pilot program is an attempt by MasterCard to break into the contactless biometrics market, which is expected to be worth about $18 billion by 2026. The scheme has raised concerns over customer privacy and how the data is collected and stored. MasterCard say the system's secure. Would you do it? I'm not so sure.
Starting today, you can pay for your groceries.
We got to bring that back. What was her total? 1444, 144. Hey, to you sincere Akim and Akwat out there, just keep strong. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is on our side.
Sure.
Starting today, you can pay for your groceries at a local store with the palm of your hand.
That's interesting.
Yes.
The Whole Foods store on Arbor Trails is introducing Amazon One.
Move over, Apple Pay. Amazon is trying to muscle its way into your digital wallet.
Amazon is ramping up its contactless payment system nationwide that works by scanning the palm of your hand right there.
And you have to scan both of your palms, like the guy is doing right there, put in your phone number. Then when you go back to the store in future visits, you just need to hover over it.
That's right, and you don't need to have your card at all. Whole Foods plans to add Amazon One to its stores at the Domain and other parts of Austin, Bee Cave, and Cedar Park. What do you guys think? The future is here.
As it says in Isaiah 55 verse 11, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please. Everything stated in the scriptures will come to pass, and nothing will stop biblical prophecy from coming to its fulfillment. And like we read back in Revelation 13 verse 15, there will come a time during this mandatory implementation of the Charagma that people will be faced with being put to death for not taking it. But you sincere Akim and Akwat should know by now not to take it, no matter what comes your way. If it's your lot to be a martyr for not taking the Charagma and being a testimony to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, then so be it, because you'll be an automatic elect on the chariots with Yahweh Shai Hamashiach, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus Christ, in those new spiritual bodies waiting to come and save the rest of the elect. You'll have that eternal memorial of standing firm to the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. But if you do take that Haragma, not only will you not be of that elect number, but you'll have that eternal memorial as of being weak and giving in to Esau, Edom, and his beast system. And you'll also be destroyed by one of those nuclear missiles when they begin to be shot to the ends of the earth after the mandatory implementation of the Haragma during World War III. I'm going to close it out in Revelation chapter 14, verses 9 to 10. And a third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the Beast and his image, and receive his Haragma in his forehead or in his hand. And real quick, it doesn't state the right hand right here. It just says hands. You can get the Haragma in your right hand, in your left hand, anywhere in your body. But if you get it, you're going to be missile food. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone. Those nuclear missiles, as well as that concentrated heat or so-called laser beams from the chariots of the Most High, which people ignorantly refer to as so-called UFOs, in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb, Yahawashi HaMashiach. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. As we can clearly see, we're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.